Hello, my name is David Juretta, and I and my colleague Mike Kearney will be giving this presentation, which has been put together by the four co-authors listed below and represents work carried out by the whole of the Data Archive and Interoperability Working Group of the Consultative Committee for Space Data Systems. More about those later. This working group wrote and updates the OAIS standard, which is so widely used in the digital preservation world. Here we report on the developments of related new standards which build on the concepts of OAIS, and we'll also report on the latest updates of OAIS itself. We start with a brief overview to provide some context. We first look at the new IPEL2 information preparation to enable long-term usability standard, which should help in the collection of information needed for preservation to be successful. Second, we describe the new OAIS interoperability framework, OAIS-IF standard, which aims to increase interoperability. Third, we briefly describe some of the updates to the OAIS reference model. CCSDS was created in order to allow space agencies to work together efficiently in many areas, including how to communicate with and control spacecraft and how to deal with the outputs from spacecraft. The Data Archiving and Interoperability Group, DAI, because it essentially deals with what happens to data on the ground, is actually relevant far beyond the space agencies. As a result, we brought together many contributors from the widest possible areas, and the standards, especially the OAIS reference model, are very widely applicable and very widely used beyond just those space agencies. Many CCSDS standards become ISO standards. For example, ISO 14721 2012 is identical to OAIS, except for an ISO cover page. The 2021 version, which updates the 2012 version, is awaiting ISO approval before publication. A previous presentation showed how one can use OAIS to fully analyze what is needed to preserve web archives, so I won't go into that here. We can illustrate how the standards relate as follows. The OAIS reference model is the foundation for everything else. We define the way in which information might be sent to an archive using PAIS and PIMAS, producer archive interface, methodology, abstract standard, and producer archive interface specification. We also defined the way in which archives may be evaluated. So we can see the sequence. We go get the information from the archive to preserve, get the information into the archive, preserve it in the archive, and then evaluate how well it's being preserved. In order to gather information required for preservation, we are writing IPEL2. We've defined other standards for ways to encode various pieces of representation information and a way to package information that's consistent with OAIS. I has a place for everything that's needed for an archival information package. These can be used to create information objects and information packages. Now we're working on OAISIF, which defines how to improve interoperability and how to and can also be used more widely. In this presentation, we'll describe our new standards, which we believe are needed to help collecting representation information, provenance, etc., while the information of interest is being created, rather than leaving things to the end when much of this will have been forgotten. This is IPeltu. Help in interoperability of archival information package and enabling interoperability, which will help to increase the value of the information being preserved. That is the OAISIF. So any questions on the on this overview?